Now, it's time for the Anchormen Podcast with Dan Ball and Riley Lewis.
Woo! Ho! I just took a big sip of that, and that gets you going here. Welcome in to this week's edition of the Anchormen Podcast. Dan Ball alongside my pal, Riley Lewis from The Real Story here on the OAN Network. How you been, my friend? We're into 2026. Let's go.
And what a start.
Don't even get me started. Jeez Louise.
I am loving this, by the way. I don't know.
Which one? Which story?
I mean, all of the above.
The ice craze,
yes.
The fraud investigations nationally, the capturing of a narco-terrorist. I mean, how much winning can we do? You know what I think? I think that President Trump talked with Charlie Sheen years ago and got some of that tiger blood. He's got the tiger blood in him.
Yeah, I think a lot of this outrage is fake coming from the lefties. I mean, are you really upset that some dirtbag dictator got toppled and the Venezuelan people are free? Are you upset
it's
that we're
manufactured,
exposing
dude.
fraud? Yeah, I think this is all
If JoJo would have done this on January, let me get the date right, 10th of last year when he upped the bounty, right, to the 25 mil on his head, and then he was out of office 10 days later. If he would have went down and captured him, they would have been going crazy from the rooftops. See, Joe's not out of it. Look at that. With 10 days left, he did something great. He took out an evil dictator that ruined a beautiful nation. Trump does it, and it's like, dictator, evil, you can't go in and do that. Maduro's the rightful president. Really? Because for 4 years under JoJo, we called him the illegitimate, and he stole the election, and he was a murdering thug, and people from Hakeem Jeffries to Chucky Schumer and Pelosi, all of them were calling him a murderous, drug-dealing thug, and he should be taken out. And then Trump takes him out alive, and Trump's the bad guy.
Yeah, of course. Because they don't have anything else that unifies them. There's a lot of hatred, honestly, and anger in that party, and they're power-hungry and resentful, and I think some of them are corrupt and criminal, actually.
Oh, however, you think?
Yeah, that's very,
Which
very
ones?
obvious. Yeah, right.
All of them?
I have no faith in any of them. However, it's obvious that once President Trump is out of politics, they will have this huge problem because nothing else unites them except for a hatred of DJT.
That's true. Who are they going to go after? You know, if it becomes a JD, a Marco, a DeSantis, or whatever. If they continue the MAGA America First movement, then they'll attack the movement and we, the people of the movement.
But that doesn't work in the same way. It doesn't play in the same way.
No, heck no.
You need a face. You need a head. You need something to, you know.
Well, it's very tribal. It goes back. Come on. This is what our ancestors. Look, whether you're black, white, red, purple, whatever. Back in the day when people were living in huts and caves and whatever, right? Very tribal. If one saw one do it, they all were in on it. So, and you have that one thing to attack, that one guy to attack. Trump's the guy.
Yep.
Yeah, what are they going to do in 3 years?
Well, and we were just talking about this with our next guest, who I'm very excited to have on, but there's the party, the Democrats, on the surface, they seem united because they all parrot the same talking points.
Of course.
And they defend each other. They keep their infighting behind closed
doors. And they do it way better than the GOP.
But I think they're actually very deeply divided. It's like a communist party, an Islamist party, sort of like a blue dog, like old JFK style party.
Some, yeah.
There's an identity crisis happening, but
they won't show you the kink in the armor. Here's the thing with ours, right? Because we are, I think, more of a virtuous people. We're more of a faith-based party.
That's fair,
right? That's very fair. Come on. Because we're not out there pushing the evil things of like cutting the genitalia off minors, and I can keep going on and on. I feel like if we don't get our act together, and I'm not worried so much about the presidency down the road, I'm worried about the midterms, which we'll talk with our guest tonight about as well. Because if we don't fix our elections first and foremost, and make sure we know who the hell's voting, then no matter if they stick together better than us, we're still not going to win. We got to clean up the election process first. And then, yes, it would be nice to have some unity. But again, I think we have more division because we're a more faith-based, principled movement.
I agree.
I'm not talking about the Republican Party. I'm talking about the movement of the America First MAGA folks like you and me.
Agreed.
Because, you know, I trash talk Republicans sometimes. There was plenty to trash talk this week.
Agreed.
You know, the couple in the Senate that voted against Trump with the war powers and sided with all the Dems, the what 8 or 9 House members who sided on the Obama subsidies, the Obamacare, with all the Dems that voted. So there's still some rhinos we got to root out. And yeah, we're always going to have more division because of the very fact that we're more principled, we're more conservative, and liberals, progressives will just collectively come together because they believe which was a pet peeve of mine, that we're a democracy, not a republic. And they don't understand the difference. In a republic, the mob can't rule over the individual. In a republic, each individual gets the right, you idiots. This is not France. It's not Germany. We're not a democracy where if you elect this party, then that mob rules and you got to suck it up. Their side thinks we're that. We know the truth.
Well, and their side, it took me a while to see this. I think I understood it for a long time, but I wasn't able to articulate it. But the Democrats, they believe so much in party and government. On the right, generally, whether you're a conservative or a libertarian or like a right-wing populist, you just love your country, man. You love the Constitution. You love God. You love your family.
Faith, family, country.
Bingo.
Who's that remind you of?
So
Charlie Kirk.
my faith is in us. It's not in the GOP.
Right.
It's in President
And they
Trump.
want their voters to put the trust in them, government.
Yes.
Which, as we'll get to on the fraud scandals, we now know why Democrats love government so much, because they use your tax dollars in all these social services and welfare programs to enrich themselves and to run their campaigns. So, of course, they love government because it not only pays their salary, it pays their campaign. And we're learning about that in almost every blue state, thanks to Nick Shirley's investigation in Minnesota. Now we're finding out Ohio, my home state. That's crushing to hear, but it happens. Maryland, Virginia, California, Oregon, Washington, Illinois. There's pretty much, I'll bet you when this ends, if Trump gets on it and gets his people on it in the next 3 years, if we open the books on every blue state, and I think we should open them on all 50, by the way. I'm not ever releasing Republicans from wrongdoing. But I'll bet you we're going to find that about 80 to 90% of every blue state is going to be involved in some sort of corruption at the local, state, and federal level, meaning they're sucking our tax dollars, whether it's your local property tax, your state income, or your federal, and using them through NGOs, through social services programs, to put it right back in their campaign and make them rich. Because that's what they were doing in Minnesota. They're doing it everywhere.
Yeah, you have to get granular. Go to every city, every town, every unincorporated community in America.
Yeah.
Turn over every single stone, man. Do not leave anything untouched.
Trump should have kept some of the 80,000 IRS agents that JoJo wanted with guns and then sent them into all the blue cities and states and make them audit stuff. And then if you cook the books, they can arrest you with their guns because they're IRS agents. Remember that? 80,000. Anyway, so much to discuss. We just covered a bunch of it. Let's hear from our expert tonight who is fighting to fix California, if you can even do that. And I hope to God, because we live here, you're born and raised.
I am.
I just bought a home last year. I'm raising a daughter who's going to college soon and maybe a dad soon again. I don't know. We'll see. We're trying. I hope it can be fixed. Because I'm not out of the game yet. I plan on fighting this fight for a good 30 more. I can make it to 80.
Let's make it 40.
I'll make it to 80.
Let's make it 40.
You think I'll make it to 90? Okay, we'll see.
Heck yeah.
Without further ado, though, she is the head legal counsel and a great spokesperson for this amazing group. And it's headed up by Rick Grinnell. If you don't know him, look him up in the Trump administration, helping to run the Kennedy Center right now. Ambassador Grinnell, great guy. I met him when I was running for Congress in 2017, 2018, up in Mary and Sonny Bono's old seat.
Oh, wow.
When I was getting attacked by the radical left wing and some righties I was attacked by, Rick actually stood up for me, made a comment to the local paper, to some of the business leaders, and was very nice. So love Rick for doing that. And so Katie Zacharia with Fix California joins us now to talk all things left versus right, not just in California, but in the United States of America. Katie, you're looking great. How you been, dear?
I'm loving it out here right now. We're a year out of the fires and news is hot in California, despite the insanity across the nation and even the world right now.
Yeah, great point, great point. So Katie, you've been on my show tons the last year, talking about what Fix California does, and we'll get to that in a moment. I don't think, Riley, am I introducing someone new again? Okay, Katie Zacharia, Riley Lewis. Hello. Hello. There you guys go.
Hello.
Great to have you.
So, Katie, this is different than the political talk shows that you're on all the time every night, where you get 5 to 7 minutes and it's maybe 2 or 3 subjects. On this, you get almost an hour, and we like the viewers to know who the heck they're listening to. So first, This is where you got to get personal. No conservative talking points. We want to know who Katie Zacharia is. Where were you born? Where'd you come from? Where'd you go to school? What'd you go to school for? And we'll go through your job resume till you get us up to the point today that you're at Fix California. So, Katie, take it away.
Love it. Born in Orange, California, Huntington Beach. I am a native Californian. I lived in Huntington Beach up until about 7-8 years old, and then moved to the central coast of California to a tiny town called Cambria. A good place to visit. Do not raise your kids there. And
boring, I take it.
Yeah, very liberal. Also, a lot of drugs, meth, pot. I mean, it's just south of Big Sur, so you're dealing with this huge drug population. I was one of the few people in my high school that did not participate in the debauchery. I still get these messages from middle school, high school friends. You were the most outspoken conservative, even in middle school, in this like liberal cesspool, liberal sea of people in central coast of California. And that's all thanks to the great Rush and late Rush Limbaugh. He raised me as a young kid on the radio.
Really?
Yes,
okay, wait a minute. We got to interrupt. Hold on. Hold on. You know what I'm going to say.
Yeah, the great one.
Katie, so for our constant Anchormen viewers that watched the first ever episode and Riley joined me last February, right? I interviewed him and said, tell him about yourself. And he said, I got into this business because of growing up and loving Rush Limbaugh. So you two take it. I'm going to leave. Anyway, go ahead. Finish the story. Sorry.
It's truly that my dad was in the Navy, and my entire family, and I think this shapes a lot of who I am. My entire family outside of my dad are hard lefties out here in California. And by hard left, I mean radical left. I was disinvited from dinners and parties and weddings during the COVID Trump era in 2020. And I've always been kind of the black sheep of the family. And that's because every day in my dad's truck, 747 Chevy pickup, we were listening to who? Rush Limbaugh. And
you shouldn't be the black sheep. You should be the white knight. You're the right one.
We are, and then it would be Sean Hannity and these different voices, but that kind of permeated my childhood. And what I loved about Rush, and I'm just going to make this point, is he invited the viewer to critically think with him. And that is such a difference from what we see kind of in this modern era, especially with the advent of social media and TikTok, where they're just giving these hot talk at you, flashy, and then off. Rush really brought you into the conversation and went through the issue. And I love that he taught me to think. And I would then go back and forth with my dad about it. And we would come to the conclusion that conservative Republicans are right most of the time. And so that was the childhood. Went to Pepperdine.
Pepperdine. I looked at that school for journalism, but it was too much of this. I couldn't. Yeah. The poor farm boy from Ohio couldn't afford that. I went in the military. Nice school. Nice name drop.
The young Katie in Cambria, California saw Pepperdine as Ken Starr became dean at the law school. I looked at Pepperdine as kind of this last beacon of California, maybe conservatism, and we can talk about that later, whether or not that's still true. But I went to Pepperdine with the understanding that I would then be going to law school, and I became president, I know surprisingly, of the college Republicans there. I got to debate John Kerry when he came for his presidency.
Whoa, really? How'd that go?
Wow.
Absolutely dominated. One of my
I want to see a clip of that.
Yeah, that's
I want to see that clip too. It's been so long, but one of my favorite stories is I pre-submitted my questions to Ken Starr at the law school, and he thought they were maybe a little bit unfriendly and not that nice to our guest. So I went ahead and asked it anyway. Good. And he was in the audience when I did, and he came up to me right after and he said, "You got to go to law school, young lady." And I mean, that really set this nice relationship with Ken Starr. And then I went to Pepperdine Law and graduated Pepperdine Law if I backtrack quickly, I worked in the Office of Political Affairs during the 2006 midterm elections in the Bush White House as an intern, but that was under Karl Rove, and like him or not, that was such an instrumental, fundamental time for understanding midterm elections.
Sure.
And I worked around the clock on those, and we did lose.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then,
Well,
yeah, we did lose, but sadly, and it was a hard loss, but moved out to Beijing, China after law school, practiced corporate law.
What?
And yeah,
In Beijing.
never my intention, but a crazy fun.
Wait, so how long were you in Beijing for? I mean,
3
that's like
years.
3 years, huh?
Wow.
Okay, so
Yeah.
wait a minute.
Crazy.
I'm trying to do math here.
Gosh.
So you graduate, you got 4 years in school, you got a few years in law school, then you got 3 years in China. So 4, 6, 3, 9, 10. So around 30, you're coming back home and saying, now I'm going to get political in the party, or when does that?
No.
there's
It's
more.
actually a fun. I've always been political, but as I went to China, practiced law there, and kind of, got absorbed in international life, came back and had 4 kids in 6 years.
Oh my God.
That's busy.
Oh my gosh.
The overachiever out here.
You and your husband were busy.
Wasting no time.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, indeed. Boy, girl, boy, boy. They're now 11, 9, 7, and 5. So
How do you have time to do this interview with us right now? You got 11,
Oh my God.
9, 7, and 5. I don't even know. Go back. Goodbye. Go take care of the
Yeah.
kids and take care of your law practice and fix California. Stop talking to us.
It's true. And, I really look at it as the pandemic was kind of that turning point. As President Trump was surging up in 2015, 2016, what I loved, I always love a disruptor. And I tend to be the disruptor. I think we can all relate. If we live in California, you get used to upsetting the apple cart a little bit.
Look at where we work.
Yep.
We're the
Very fair.
disrupting network. Okay?
Yes.
Very fair.
Yes.
We don't play in the sandbox with the big boys, Fox, CNN, and the rest. I know you're on the other one sometime, but we're like the outcast. Go ahead. We're the disruptors.
Disruptors are good. You have to have disruptors to kind of reset, recalibrate, and watching President Trump come up and this was in the thick of having kids, but saying, I like this. I like that. I love what he's about. I like that he's doing it differently.
Yes.
And it was this turn, and it's a small thing, but the Space Force, when he brought the Space Force, I'm like, all right, this guy's done for me. I love him. Like, this is exactly what the United States needed. The fact that he's ahead of this and on it. No other president had even talked about the need for the Space Force.
Well, Reagan brought it up and they made fun of him. I'm old enough, Katie, you're not, to remember that. Neither are you. You're younger than her. I remember when Reagan brought it up. It's called Star Wars. They kept joking. Oh, yeah, okay, we're going to put stuff up. They made fun of him. Like, we don't need that, and you can't create that back in the 80s. Here we are. Yes, you can.
Here we are.
Yeah.
And I absolutely, 10 minutes away from the Reagan Library, and I memorized his time for choosing speech. Ronald Reagan also, I was the nerd in college. I had a poster of Ronald Reagan in my dorm room. Don't judge me here.
Nice.
I'm a total nerd. And that this is kind of what I basically bled just conservatism out in California. And at the pandemic, honestly, and I'll just be very blunt, when the 2020 election was stolen from us, that was this moment for me when I said, I was a somber day. Again, going back to the midterm elections, people tell me, Karl Rove, hate him, love him, whatever. I had my little map that he taught us, and we won when I went to bed the night of 2020. We won. He actually, it's said that he called President Trump and congratulated him on his win on 2020. And then guess what happened? They rigged the election. And so that, on top of the COVID tyranny out here in California, I absolutely there was something that turned in me. This is it. If we don't now fight for this country, if we do not take this country back from people that are willing to steal it from under us, we're done. We're cooked. Our republic is cooked.
Yeah, agreed.
Yes, and that's what really propelled me back into the political world. It's always been in me. I've always fought for it. But having 4 kids at that point in 2020, I said, that's it. I don't have a choice anymore. I have to fight. So I joined up forces. I met Rick Grinnell. We worked campaign adjacent. We worked on Fix California. We worked on all the president's events out here in California when he would come out. Every swing state we were in during the election, and we won every swing state. And I was really able to kind of gain this momentum in the political world, a lot to do with a true belief that it is President Trump at the 250-year mark that will reset our country. And I know those aren't actually political talking points for me. That really was the impetus for getting back in, is because I have 4 kids and I have to preserve this republic. So there you go.
Yeah, and there's I'm glad you said that, because there's a lot of people who think that and really feel it about California. Look, I've had family in the state for over 100 years on my mother's side, going all the way back to at least 1910. And it's a beautiful place. California is worth fighting for. I fully believe we can save it. I think we can save this country. We just need to organize, mobilize. We got to get the elections under control. We got to look at the voter rolls. We have to be better about, hitting the ground. We need a better ground game. But it's not off the table. California can be saved.
Well, the bottom line is, and Katie says it, as long as we can get voter ID and clean up the rolls. Yes. So the big question is, can we do that?
It's not rocket science.
But let me step back with Katie. And so you joined or helped to create Fix California with Rick and the others in about 2020, or when? Tell me, first of all, tell them what Fix California is, and then your involvement and what you do. Mm-hmm.
Rick started Fix California in 2019. So Rick was the DNI, and he went into the Trump admin, and I mean, he was U.S. ambassador to Germany. Then he was DNI, right. And then he left the admin right ahead of the 2020 elections, knowing that we were going to be up for a big fight. And he was absolutely right. So he started Fix California, and what he did is he looked at what are other states doing correctly? So let's take Florida, for example. What happened in Florida? Well, Ron DeSantis and Rick Scott realized that registering unregistered conservatives, using digital data to find people who are conservative. So do they own a gun? Do they post publicly on their profile, a distaste for Democrats? Do they drive a truck? Do they go to church? They take this information and then they run it against the voter database. And if that person is not in the voter database, then they get them off the sidelines and get them registered to vote. And this is all done digitally. And nice. So Rick Grinnell basically looked at this and said, we're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're going to take what they've done. We're going to use the same the same firm that knows how to do this, and we're going to use it in California. And so I wasn't part of the inception of Fix California. The president came out and raised a large sum of money to get that data. And then Mrs. Trump, Melania Trump at the time, First Lady, also did a big fundraiser for Fix California at the beginning to really get it off the ground. And now it is essentially shooting fish in a barrel, which we have the unregistered conservatives. We just have to target them and get them off the sideline and get them registered to vote. So that's what we raise money for. It's essentially looking at, we have the people in California. They just have decided their vote doesn't matter.
Yeah, they've been told that, Katie. I've lived out here not as long as you two, because, well, actually, I might get close to 20-some years with you because I'm 51 and got out here years ago. But Katie, where do we stand on that? Because I've heard so many numbers that, okay, there's 6.6 million registered Republicans, but there could be 12 to 15 million because they're not registered. That's number one I've heard. Two, a lot of Republicans out here that either are registered or not feel disenfranchised because they feel like, well, the vote doesn't matter because there's so many, allegedly, so many registered Democrats that will never, ever beat them in a race. And then thirdly, I would say that besides that lie, that there's too many of them and not enough of us, it's corrupt as hell. So why would you want to get involved in politics in California? And I'll even add a fourth because I experienced it, Katie, when I ran for office in 2018. A lot of voters don't like or trust the California GOP and a lot of their county GOP or RNC type organizations, they're Republican organizations. And I can attest to that because I spoke with the California GOP when I ran. I spoke with the folks in Riverside and San Bernardino counties where I was living at the time. Yep. And then I talked with the feds, the head RNC, when I ran, and got a lot of thrown my way about my campaign. And then they never, ever raised a finger to help. So I kind of think I can understand why a lot of voters feel disenfranchised and don't want to head off to the polls in California anymore, because they feel like their party's given up on them, that they don't have a strong enough voice of enough registered folks, and that the rolls are so corrupt and cooked that we'd never win anyway. So you're Fix California. Prove me wrong on all those and tell me why we shouldn't feel that way anymore, because people do.
Well, look, if you try to attack all four at once, you're not going to be able to win a voter over initially. You're going to have to start ticking it off one by one. So my first argument, and what Fix California is standing for, is flood the field. So if you have enough people, enough conservatives, and maybe half of them, or 60% or 70% go out and vote that are registered to vote, you're still winning if you're getting all these people off the sidelines. Now, we in our first data dig, we went and got 1.4 million unregistered conservatives in the initial dig.
Nice.
That is the low-hanging fruit, too. This is the easy surface level dig. And we have been ticking that off. And I mean, we've made massive progress in California. We registered just last year competing with the presidential race, which it's tough to fundraise off of alongside and support President Trump's effort, because those registered Republicans are going to be voting for him. But you're still, doing the small dollar donations with President Trump. And we still were able to register over 200,000 voters just last year alone in California. Wow. And so this is that mindset of flood the field. Yep. And to the point of, does my vote matter? Well, yes, it does. But we have to outperform and out hustle and essentially get beyond that margin of fraud by numbers. It's a numbers game. And we still have a lot of unregistered conservatives that we have to get off the field. And the problem, to your point, with the state party, is they have not been focused on new voter registration.
No, that's right. And again, I'm not saying I feel those four ways. This is what I hear from voters, from my fellow Californians, either when I was on the campaign trail or as a news guy or going to a local Young Republicans meeting or whatever. It's the way people feel, right? And so, and I hate to say, how do we get around those feelings? Because I'm not a big feelings guy. I'm a facts guy. Okay, facts over your feelings. Sorry, kids. We'll get to that in the Minnesota shooting with you, Katie, in a minute. Facts over feelings. But so where are we with the numbers right now? How many registered Republicans do we have in the state of California? And what are you all doing to up that by tens or hundreds of thousands? Because I had a guy on the other day from GOA, Gun Owners of America, on my other show, and he was giving us some California numbers about how many thousands, and I'm talking thousands, hundreds of thousands, of registered gun owners, which typically are conservatives, aren't even registered to vote in California. Wow. Start looking at gun owners, Katie. Oh, yeah, hundreds of thousands.
Wow.
They are in California. Am I right?
That's insane.
You're absolutely right. We should be targeting just strictly every single gun owner, because you can rest assured that almost every single, I think this is probably, you're going to hit in the 95 to 98% margin.
Yeah, there's a few liberals for home safety if they've had an issue or whatever, a pistol, or maybe if they are an outdoorsman, some older conservatives, Democrats and liberals do hunt.
Perhaps.
Yeah, but it's minimal. It's minuscule.
It's minimal.
Yeah.
I don't know one Democrat, one liberal that owns a gun.
Tampon really Tim Walsey over in Minnesota. I fix trucks and I got a gun.
Kamala Harris.
Oh, yeah. Kamala claims she has a gun, right?
Hold on. Tim, it's a prop. He can't load the gun.
That's true. Remember the video?
He can't load it or discharge it. But he owns it technically. Sure. Okay.
Oh my God.
I think Kamala, to the point of banning Glocks, does actually own a Glock, is what has been said.
Yes, that was what was reported, because it should be public record if it's in her name, because I just bought another one the other day and my wife bought another one. I bought it for Christmas. And let me tell you, the hoops we got to jump through, which, by the way, you're a lawyer. I'm going to throw one out there for the gun folks. What happened the other day? The Ninth Circuit voted the judges 2-1 that the California ban on constitutional concealed carry in any county, 200,000 and bigger, is null and void. It's not constitutional. So does that mean we can start carrying our guns in California or what?
They're going to appeal it to the Supreme Court, but as of now, they have said essentially this is unconstitutional in violation of the Second Amendment. And to come out of the Ninth Circuit,
I know, the liberal court. So my point is, so lawyer, explain it to me in the legal terms for somebody who's a dummy. Is there a stay then and the law stays in effect until the final court rules? Or do we get to go with what the new court said, that it's unconstitutional? I mean, I have a CCW, but like others I know don't, but they own a pistol. They'd like to be able to carry it.
I think in this interim period, I haven't gone in and read the specificity and what they were, if there was a stay, if you're able to carry in the interim. So what I will say is in the interim, I would be very careful and
because it's California.
Because it's California and it's the Ninth Circuit. However, the Supreme Court, even with Justice Barrett and Roberts right now that have been, I mean, Roberts has always been disappointing and Barrett's been disappointing.
Yeah. Thanks, Chief Justice.
But even with those,
it'll be 5-4.
Even with them, it'll be 5-4, a likelihood of a 5-4 with, especially with Kavanaugh and Gorsuch.
I agree. Sorry to throw that one at you. I know we didn't talk about guns, but you start talking about gun owners and registered voters, and I got to throw that gun thing out. Okay, now let's back up in one of the main reasons, because we only got like 20 minutes left with you. Let's see how fast a half hour goes.
I know.
It's quick, man. We need to do 2-3 hours of this show.
Agreed.
Let's go back to the 1-year anniversary, because earlier this week, it was the 1-year anniversary of what I called on my show, and I think you did as well. I called them super wildfires, because they would have been a normal wildfire, especially the one I think in Altadena that was started by the individual. It wasn't a lightning strike or a power line, it was a person. So some of these fires would have started because they were man-made, but they would not have turned into a super fire had we have water in the reservoir, enough firefighters, enough fire engines, competent leadership, and like Trump told dummy Gavin on his first term back in 16 through 20, what did he say? Clean up, and they made fun of him, clean up the floor in your forest, and they joked around and made, well, when you're worried about a beetle or a little fish, and you won't get rid of the debris that's sitting around rotting and is dry as hell, so when the spark hits and the wind blows and there's no water, you're going to have a super fire. And here we are, Katie, and I know you guys at Fix California have been adamant about throwing people under the bus that deserve it, like Karen Bass, the mayor of LA, like Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. Thousands of people, what was it, 17,960 structures burned?
Yes.
How many permits have been issued so far in LA County? Like nobody's rebuilding yet. What's going on?
Well, there's this huge discrepancy on what the city is saying that they've released and what has actually been done. So I went and looked at the home builders, like the actual Pacific Palisades builders website that is keeping track truly of the permits that have been issued. And I mean, it is a measly, I think we're looking at 600, 700 true permits. That means that they're actually able to rebuild versus they said they've given 2,500. Well, comes
even that's low. When
that is even
17,000, and again, a lot of those were businesses, but the majority were homes. People are displaced. People are having to pay their mortgage right now while they're paying rent on a rental property while they're having to, buy a car, put their wardrobe back together, whatever. They lost everything.
Correct.
So you guys investigate this. You publicize it with Fix California. What the hell is Gavin and Karen doing? Why is it taking so long?
Well, Gavin has, as we all heard, Gavin criticized President Trump for not doing anything. And simultaneously out of the other side of his mouth saying the only thing that's been effective is debris removal. Well, for the record, President Trump sent the Army Corps of Engineers, that was President Trump, FEMA, sent FEMA, because guess what? What happened? President Trump was inaugurated on January 20th. The fires did not actually, were not contained, they have said and released until January 27th. You do not send in Army Corps of Engineers to clear debris until the fire is contained, okay? So Gavin Newsom, so President Trump's inaugurated, he comes out to California 4 days after his inauguration, which is historic record time to come straight out to California and look at the fire situation. And then he provides complete support to the Palisades for debris removal through FEMA, Army Corps of Engineers, and through, I was with Administrator Lee Zeldin and Rick Grinnell to look at the hazardous waste, to see what needed to be cleaned up of the EPA in the Palisades. And Mayor Bass came and met us out there, and she said, I'm going to do everything I can to get rid of the red tape. I'm going to do everything I can. So what did President Trump and all these crews do? They cleaned up that debris at a record rate. Those lots, when you look at the before and after from the fire a year later, none of the lots are rebuilt, but all of the debris is removed, as was promised by the administration. So what should have been happening in tandem with the debris removal is a cutting of the red tape, suspend or eliminate the California Coastal Commission, which is putting these burdensome restriction, especially on all these Malibu lots that sit on the ocean.
I heard about that.
And really decide what are solutions for the people. Put a moratorium, even suspend property taxes for these poor homeowners.
Great idea.
And say, we are going to provide practical solutions to the region of the Palisades for a year or even two while you rebuild. We're going to provide, instead of earmarking $50 million to fight President Trump, we're going to earmark money to provide a supplemental insurance program so you can, so you can see out the building of your home. And that's not what they've done at all. They've done quite the opposite.
Well, we're billions in debt.
Yeah,
we're in the red. We can't not collect taxes right now, Gavin says, because what's the deficit number at right now?
I think 18
is 18,
billion,
right?
yeah,
18 and a half or something.
billion.
Katie
Yeah,
knows.
it's up there.
Where are we at?
Yes, that's what we're at. And he gave his state of the state today. And what's the state of the state? The state of the state is it's a scorched earth. It's decimated.
Yes.
He's decimated the states with his policies. So what is the solution? And one of the other solutions would be, and it's unfortunate, but it's like he has to maybe rely on President Trump to enact the Stafford Act and come take over, cut all the red tape, and give these people an opportunity to rebuild their homes without the city or state support, because they're clearly not delivering for these people. And there is a federal vehicle to do it. Whether or not the president should or will, that's really up to debate and up to him.
Well, I think if Gavin will swallow his pride, which he won't, because we know he's going to run for prez, and he has to rip Trump until he runs against JD or Marco or Ron, whoever it's going to be, Trump will do it for the American people.
Of course.
He'll do it for California. He said it when he came out last year, 7 days after. He will do it. But Gavin's going to have to eat a little crow, suck it up and ask, and he won't. Well, I got one more question on fire. I know you want to talk about the scandals on the fraud, which ties to all this. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just... Look, anyone who's lived in California for a long time, even if you're not from here, you know that we have a wildfire problem. Recently, we talked on the show on this podcast about the Paradise Fires. I was living in Sonoma County in 2018. Horrific fires that tore across thousands of acres of Northern California. Gavin Newsom comes to office in 2019. So we have a long history of fires here. So we should have a playbook by now for preventing them, for addressing them, for what you do after the fact. There's no excuse for it. I mean, it would be different if this was a first-time event or an isolated situation, but this is a normal thing for California wildfires, which is why back in the day, to your point, Dan, they did controlled burns. They used to clean the forests, and then California Econuts
They'd clean the floor, like Trump said. Clean up your floor.
Oh, they did. And California Econuts came in, the environmental, wackos.
Yep. And said the bark beetle and this little fish and this little thing and that little thing.
Yes.
What about the environment when a fire burns for weeks? Aren't you screwing the environment? How many wildlife died during the Altadena Pacific Palisades Malibu fires last January?
All the carcinogens, right? The atmosphere,
you climate change freaks. You ruined the climate because you let a fire burn out of control because you wouldn't clean up the forest and fill the reservoir for a damn beetle and a little smelt fish or whatever it was.
And we're talking about cleaning up dead trees and twigs. Why are you protecting dead trees and twigs? What is wrong with you? I just... There's no excuse.
What do you make of the Spencer Pratt guy? That's what I was going to ask too. Running for mayor now. The former reality star announced his bid for mayor. What was it, yesterday, right? Or day before? What do you make of him, Katie?
Yesterday he announced his bid on the anniversary of the fires. And I think it's the true rise of populism. It's that the Democrat Party has failed. The Republican Party in at least LA County has not stood a chance for so long. And you have a man who suffered under these policies that can represent the voice of the people. And there is no better time in the history of LA County to have someone like Spencer Pratt rise up and provide common sense solutions to a city in desperate need.
Is he running as an independent, by the way? I didn't look.
Well, he's a registered Republican. He has been since 2020, but he's running to rep the whole city. And he said very clearly he will work with anyone who cares about LA, who wants to fix LA. It's become
what was the show his wife was on that got him all famous? I didn't watch.
It was a
Katie?
celebrity.
What were they on? Do you guys know?
Was it The Hill?
The Hills.
Yeah, it was.
That's what the wife was. Was he on the Hills with the wife?
Yes, they were.
See, I'm too old to watch
Yeah,
the
they
Hills.
were.
I never watched the Hills. I'll admit it. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
No, but that city does need. I mean, LA is falling apart.
And let's
It's
be
a
real.
failed city.
Celebrities always do well because it's Hollyweird, and LA people love their celebrities, right?
Yep.
I mean, look how crazy they go with a celebrity sighting when they're walking down the street. So if a celebrity's going to run for mayor, I mean, look, it worked for Gov. We had a Governor Schwarzenegger for a while.
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
A lot of these celebrities have lost their homes. A lot of these celebrities, as much as they're not going to come out on social media and say it, those same Democrat policies have failed them, including the film industry. The film industry is dying in California.
They're filming everything in Georgia now, right?
And New Mexico.
And New Mexico. And Texas is making a huge bid. I've seen McConaughey and a bunch of them are doing videos now online saying, please, Texas, give us a break. We want to bring film to Texas. And I'm like, yes, maybe if we did that, we'd start to turn Hollyweird into a conservative business instead of this liberal trash hole that it is in LA. All right, let's get to the fraud, waste, and abuse you wanted to bring up with her here in California and elsewhere.
Yeah, well, in addition to being deeply in debt thanks to Newscom, there's been some recent reporting.
I've never heard that one.
Yeah, I'm sure you know about it, Kate, because you're following this stuff very closely. But a lot of these state agencies in California, right? That's a pretty good one, actually. If you lived here during COVID, you definitely get it. I think that's when it cropped up. No, but state-run agencies are failing. They're bankrupt. I think it's at least 8 or 9 that have been identified now. But, I mean, we have millions, if not billions of dollars that's just gone missing. You couple that with the high-speed railway to nowhere, and it's like, where's the billions of dollars going? It's all gone somehow magically. It's been 20 years. So I think we were talking about this earlier, but before we went to record. But, Katie, I do wonder if you think California is the next Minnesota or Washington, and if there's connections going on. Yeah,
I heard our number is going to crush Minnesota.
How widespread? There was fraud in California.
We will have the biggest number over all the blue states combined, people are saying. Okay. Katie, what do you think?
Yeah.
Well, I think that it goes bigger. You have to go even higher. And this is something that I fundamentally believe. The president signed an executive order on the sanctuary jurisdictions, sanctuary states, sanctuary cities in April, and ending sanctuary cities. And if you at least tie every single sanctuary jurisdiction, sanctuary state, and with the federal funds, these are jurisdictions that believe they're above the law, that they don't have to obey federal immigration law. And so that also applies, and it spreads out. That also applies to everything else that they do. They're not accountable to the American people. So you're going to find fraud, waste, and abuse in every sanctuary jurisdiction. I can almost say that with 100% guarantee, and I don't often do that. But if you look at people that say, well, the supremacy clause, that's relevant. That's relative to, no, the supremacy clause is put in place in our Constitution to show that federal immigration law supersedes state immigration law for national security purposes. And for the president's Article 2 powers, he has to be able to enforce federal immigration. And if you have places that are not going to enforce immigration, they are also not going to be accountable for the money that they get. So here's number one. All those sanctuary cities, sanctuary states, California, Minnesota, name it, you need to suspend federal funding immediately and audit every single one. So as you were saying on the IRS agents, those IRS agents should not be on the people. They should be on these jurisdictions that have decided that the law does not apply to them.
That's what I was joking about. Yeah, send those agents out, even though Trump got rid of, we didn't hire 80,000 like JoJo wanted.
We need audits.
But we need audits on every, and again, I'd start going to school districts, and then city councils, and then the state governments in every damn blue state. But again, don't look like you're being biased. Do all 50. Yeah, do all 50, because I guarantee there's a corrupt Republican out there too. I'm going to admit it. I'm not going to say that we're free of doing any bad deeds, because we've caught Republicans with their hands in the cookie jar over the years. The problem is these days it's about 90-10. Okay, let's be real.
And that might
it's
be
mostly
generous.
the damn. And I might be being generous. You're right. All right. So the fraud, the election, the fires. We've got to obviously talk, because this has been a wild week, and since you were bringing up immigration, which is where they defrauded us a lot, taking money and giving it to the illegals in the way of health care, in the way of homes, clothes, discounted college, free college. I mean, it all stems back to what Joe did for 4 years. and allowing 15 to 20 million illegals from over 163 different freaking countries unvetted into our nation with the goal of changing the elections for the next 100 years to sway them in the Democrats' favor. That's exactly what this was.
At least 20 million. Could be more.
Yeah.
Do we have the data? Like, do we?
No, there's no data because they weren't tracking them.
Exactly.
Look
So
at the
at least
400,000 kids they lost that, by the way, Tom Homan, God bless you, just found 129,000 of them in the last few months. Thank you. They're going to try and find all 400 that JoJo and Kamala lost. But bigger picture, we've got the border locked down. We've seen the numbers. We're down 98% year over year from when Jerkoff ran this place compared to Trump. He's got it locked down. The problem is now we got to deport him. And now we're looking at a George Floyd 2.0 with what happened in Minnesota, right? You have a mother of three who, by all accounts, was a straight woman living in Missouri a year ago who lost her husband the year before in 23, I think, or 24, who gets into a relationship and marries a woman who, by all accounts, looking at her online presence, is a radical liberal lesbian, moves to the Twin Cities, and then, by her own admission, after her mate is shot by the ICE agent this week, breaks down in tears and says, it's my fault, I made her come here. And these ladies were out there for the last couple days, for sure, according to other eyewitness agitators, some paid, some not paid, blocking traffic with their cars, blowing the whistles, getting on the bullhorn, creating chaos, and alerting illegal criminal aliens that ICE was in their neighborhood. Then, when she blocks a car, gets shot. So, how in the heck, Katie, are we going to get a handle on this? And can Trump, and again, this is a campaign promise he's doing his best on. We're up to 3,000 a day, I think. He wants to see, I've heard from Tom and others, he wants to see 6,000 a day. Yeah. I mean, that's going to be tough, Katie, if every time they try to go into a blue city or state, they're getting pushback from radicals that the local law enforcement won't stop or do anything about because their Democrat leadership tells them not to.
Well, this is a problem with the Supreme Court's recent ruling on the Chicago National Guard. Now, it was a narrow case, and this is the disappointment of Kavanaugh and Barrett, to be frank and call them out, and Roberts, but Kavanaugh and Barrett specifically, that they really failed the president on this, because it is within his powers to be able to invoke the National Guard to protect his ICE agents.
Yes.
And that is what they were there for. And now, because the police, because Pritzker would not, and I'm diverting to Illinois for a second, because he would not allow his local police to support ICE, and in fact were disrupting what ICE was trying to accomplish on the ground. He needed to have the National Guard to support ICE to be able to correct the problem that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden made for us in our country. Yes. And that's what's happening now in Minnesota. And this is why he should be able to, in tandem, in conjunction with every single ICE raid, to have the National Guard support those ICE officers, because this poor ICE officer that was about to be hit by a moving vehicle.
Oh, he was hit. I've seen the other angles. He was hit. Let's say it. I mean, all this crap about he wasn't.
Run over maybe is the better way. There's the angle.
Boom.
Right? There it is.
Right there. And he was hit 6 months ago and drugged 335 feet and had 30 stitches. Yep. The vice president just said it on the air. He's like, this agent was in the process of arresting an illegal criminal alien in June or July in Minnesota, in a town right up the street here, right? Yep. Yes. And as he was reaching in to get that scumbag out, his arm got caught. The guy drove off without him. He had to go to the hospital, right, because he got injured. So why wouldn't you be a little apprehensive when you're out there trying to do your job? You're following the Constitution and the Commander-in-Chief's orders, and some wacky woman, and I don't want to speak ill will of the dead, because I truly believe that she was another brainwashed, not crazy radical liberal, like the family of Tyler Robinson, who said he was a conservative Mormon kid with his grandpa's rifle, a normal kid, till he moved in with the transgender. Yep. Right? Mm-hmm. This woman, by all accounts, from her first husband, who said she shouldn't have been there. She was never this way. She was a good Christian mom and poet. They said the only way we can think that she would show up is the new wife, the lesbian radical wife that she moved in with. Yeah. They're getting radicalized. Yes. That's why they go do this crazy crap.
Yes. But it's they're getting radicalized by who is a fundamental question.
Thank you. Throw them under the bus. Dox them. By the Democrat leadership.
Tim Walz and Jacob Fry.
Tim Walz called ICE agents last May. I might get the date wrong. May 3rd. It was a commencement speech at the law school in Minnesota. He called them Gestapo. Sorry, let's see. Who else did you call Nazis? Trump, somebody shot him. Charlie, somebody shot him. Every time these damn leaders start labeling all of us as Nazis, Gestapo, brown shirts, Hitler, then some wacko, weak-minded American goes and shoots one of us or puts a car in front and then gets shot, and it's the poor ICE agent's fault.
It is the constant violent rhetoric against ICE agents from Hillary Clinton, from Gavin Newsom, from Tim Walz, from Karen Bass as the mayor of our city, and providing cash cards to illegal immigrants to stay home, to evade ICE authorities, to be encouraged to fight against ICE. This is not just an online extreme kind of group that's rogue.
No.
This is the top leadership of the
mainstream Democrats tell them to fight. Mainstream Democrat, Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, and Tim Walz, all last year, I ran the clips on my show this week, all last year said, we will not be working with Donald Trump's ICE. We are not going to help them. Then they had the audacity to bitch and complain when the woman got killed and said, they didn't even tell us they were coming to town. They never work with us. You said all last year, we're not working with Trump's ICE.
Yeah, and it's insane.
What the?
Katie, can I ask you, Tampon Tim has said that he wants to bring charges, state-level charges against the ICE agent. I do want to get your legal
How's he going to do that? He stepped down.
Exactly.
He's done.
Exactly. So could you give us just a quick legal breakdown about what to expect for any kind of case, an investigation into this? I mean, I think this man will be vindicated.
Well, the FBI took over.
Right, they did. But is there a case that, like, how could Walz even, I mean, just could you walk through that for us?
It's a clear case. The self-defense argument is all you have to say. If you use a car as a lethal weapon, and that's a clear delineation. Was she using it as a lethal weapon? Yes. She was trying to hit him, and she was going to run him over. So lethal force. Lethal force can be met with lethal force in situations of self-defense and defense of others. So this is retaliatory lethal force against lethal force. It is a case closed, plain and simple. He will survive that because it is so obvious that he was defending himself and honestly defending others by look at how she, a reckless driver.
Well, she floored it. She could have hit a kid crossing the street in the next block because she was flooring it. Yes. And you know what? I'll go back to science since the damn libs talk so much about science during COVID. And let's follow that in all cases. Let's follow the science of a little something called trajectory. I shoot a lot of guns. Okay. The bullet holes, which I think we have the close-up of the car after it crashed into the snowbank, the bullet hole was in the front windshield, okay? And then one in the mirror. Everybody keeps talking about the two officers that got out of the car that she blocked, grabbing the door. They weren't in any harm. They were off to the side. Her car wasn't pointed at them. What they forget to look at are the other angles where the officer who actually pulled the trigger, the one who was dragged 6 months ago, was walking around the passenger side with this woman's lesbian wife in a white hat behind, heckling him and screaming and calling him a Nazi with a camera. He had positioned himself in front of the car to stop her. That's who she hit. And he was able to, amazingly, get that gun out as he's being hit, put one in the window and one in the mirror. There's where he's being drugged. Look at that. That's the video from last summer.
Unbelievable.
So anyway, he's gonna be vindicated. Yeah. And again, we don't know what was in her mind and her heart. Maybe she was freaking out with them yanking the door and her wife screaming, and so she was trying to get away. But how does an officer who's standing there with two other officers telling the woman to stop, get out of the car after he just got hit 6 months ago, know what her intent is? If 5,000 pounds is coming at me, and I got a CCW, and I can't get out of the way, I'm shooting your ass.
That's the ridiculous. I mean, is he supposed to wait to be hit and killed by the car to
do something about
it? Well, okay, but is he supposed to wait for further damage to be done until he defends his life? Like, it's a ridiculous thing to suggest that.
It's not even reasonable to suggest he should. But let's even go to your point on analyzing her. If I'm a mom, which I am, of 4 kids. And she's a mom of 3. And I have an officer, a federal officer or any officer telling me to get out of my car, and I care about continuing to be a mom being there for my kids. I'm not even worried necessarily about getting shot. I'm worried, am I going to go to jail? Am I going to, what am I up against? I'm not going to be able to see my kids. This mother prioritized her radicalization over prioritizing her children and the need to keep them safe and be there for them. And if you are going to evade arrest for any reason, this type of behavior deserves exactly the response it got from this officer. It just has to be said. She did exactly what the officers are trained to fight against.
Thank you. And whatever happened to self-responsibility, Katie? Why is the left the party of never blame yourself, blame everybody else, blame MAGA, blame Trump, blame cops? Like, I'm sorry, but we were all taught. I mean, how many grandparents, parents, moms, dads went, if your friend jumps off a bridge, are you gonna? Come on, Danny, you take some self-responsibility. That's how I was taught, but not today. Oh no, it's the cop's entire fault. He did it. No responsibility on her part. Listen, if your wife's telling you, let's go yell at those Nazis, how about you go, no, I'm gonna stay home with my kids today. You go yell at them. She could have done that, but no, she went out, did what the wife wanted.
You put yourself in a dangerous situation.
And look at now what they're dealing with.
Somebody's life with a moving vehicle, and you just, it is sad.
Almost an hour.
Yeah, I know. I can't.
They're giving me the wrap. See how quick that goes, Katie?
It's tragic, but it is not unexpected based on the violent rhetoric from the left. Period.
Thank you.
The end.
Yes. Great point. And thanks for that actual factual statement, unlike the narrative of Jacob Fry and Walls. You were like, this was inevitable the day before an oppressor. We told you something like this was going to happen because ICE was going to cause it. No, your rhetoric driving weak-minded liberals caused it. Period. And with that, what a great hour. Katie, make the sales pitch for Fix California. Remind people where to go, find out what you're doing, donate. Because, man, if we could save California, then there's not a blue state out there we couldn't save. Amen. So help us fix it. Tell them how to get a hold of you and help out.
So goes California, so goes the union, okay?
That's right.
So fixcalifornia.com. My handle is Katie Zacharia on X and on Instagram. You can reach out to me on those mediums, LinkedIn. And follow fixcalifornia.com. You can go there, you can donate, you can participate in saving California and fixing our problems, which is registering unregistered common sense voters, conservatives.
Amen. And I'll just point out as we say goodbye to Katie that our two Republicans that I like, my boy Chad Bianco, the sheriff of Riverside County, and Steve Hilton, the former Fox Business News host, are both still leading most recent polls. The Democrats are actually in third, fourth, and fifth. Katie Porter's fallen off the frickin' map. So could you imagine, because California, folks, if you don't know, is one of those states where the top two vote getters in the primary go forward. Not primary. One, you're right, not primary. One from each party. So it's not Republican, Democrat. Could you imagine what people will think if there's two Republicans on the ticket come November and we got to choose? I endorse Chad. We came up together out in Riverside County when I was running for office. So I got to stick with my boy, but I like Steve too. And either way.
Chad. I love Steve. Right? It's so hard. They're both so great.
Either one, right? We'll take either one.
Yeah. How about both?
Yeah.
We can have a governor.
I had a conversation with them, and I hope that if one starts looking a little, that one would say, let me be your Lieutenant Gov.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Let's go.
Yes, let's go. Katie Zacharia, give Rick my best to the crew at Fix California. Please help us fix this state. We live here. We love it, just not the politics and the a-holes in charge. Thank you, Katie.
But we have to stay here and fight. This is what I say to everyone. Stay in New York and fight. Stay in California and fight. Stop fleeing to Florida. The problems are just going to find you there eventually. So fight for what you are.
Exactly. Florida's got Floridians to handle it.
If they can destroy
Texas
California, they'll destroy Florida one day too.
Yeah, well, you're a native. You're not leaving. She's a native, and I just bought a house, so I ain't going nowhere. God bless you, Katie Zacharia. Take care. Best of the family.
God bless.
Oh, that was awesome.
Fun one, huh?
Yeah, that was awesome.
Look how fast it goes, man.
I can't believe that. Every time.
Seriously, can we talk to the powers that be and get 2 hours to talk to people? Because
we could burn through 2 hours so easily.
Doesn't Rogan do 3?
Yeah.
Rogan does 3.
He does. Well, there's some
But
variation.
he's Rogan. We're just us.
Yeah, someone who also left California, by the way. Because
he ran.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Joe, you little... Why'd you run to Texas? Why don't you stay here and fight with us, Rogan? Anyway.
Yeah, no, that's got me hyped, though. I'm hopeful. Actually.
See how she pumps you up?
I know.
I told you. Now you got to get her on your talk show.
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah, we'll do.
Man, I just keep spoon feeding you all your guests. When are you going to start paying me as your booker?
We'll talk. I'll give you royalties.
I'll tell you what you can do.
I'm grateful.
You can pay me in whiskey.
All right. And cheers, by the way, to a great episode.
Cheers. How about cheers to a amazing 2026?
Yes.
The first year, rough because Trump had a lot of I almost can't say that word, unscrewing of what got screwed up for 4 years under Joe and Kamala. I think now year 2 is going to be better, and then wait for 3 and 4. Like, economy's already starting. The rates are going to come down. The building's going to start. Like, every economist I talk to says end of first quarter. I'm being a little more hesitant saying second quarter, but stuff's going to start just exploding, dude.
I know. Golden age is coming. The golden age is coming. I firmly believe that.
I'm so excited. Let's do the stuff we got to do here.
They re-upped, so we got more Grunt Style, right?
We got to thank Grunt Style Foundation. If you don't know what they do, yes, they sell cool merch like these badass T-shirts I always wear, but bigger picture, it's all run by vets, and the cash almost like, except for staff and a little bit of profit, the majority of the cash when they sell stuff goes to their foundation. The foundation, the Grunt Style, helps veterans with veterans issues. Homelessness, benefits, education, you name it. So great, great charity. Love that Grunt Style upped for another year with us, so we will keep them on our platform, on our bodies. And we are looking for a whiskey sponsor, though. So if you got a whiskey company, let us know, because we enjoy our bourbon. So, and I saw some really cool ones. There's a new one out there called America First.
Really?
Whiskey. Have you seen that one? And there's a couple other patriotic brands that just popped.
Okay.
Yeah. So I saw Rob Schneider, the comedian, marketing one of them. I don't know if it's that American one, but yeah, there's a couple new whiskey brands out there. So I'd love to get us that.
Okay.
Because right now I just use this awesome Bullet Grunt Style decanter that they sent us with the glasses, and I don't know what our beverage is tonight. Our director was sweet enough to get us some. Yeah, that's what we're having tonight.
Yeah,
but
it is very nice.
We'd love a whiskey sponsor.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're out there, please.
Fun.
Yes.
Big thanks to them. Who else?
Yeah, well, of course, the biggest thanks to the Herring family, everything they do for us, giving us this platform.
Mr. H.
Yes, and his two sons. Absolutely, we're a team here and a family, and we appreciate their support. We're very grateful. And of course, you guys, the viewers, the most important people
Couldn't do it without
you. Would not be here without you guys. So thank you for the continued support. It's been almost a year of doing this, and I hope that we have another year.
I think we went on the air right at the end of January of last year. Third week was our third Thursday, Thursday, Friday, somewhere in there. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All things OAN. You want to see the lineup of when we're on the air, when you can catch the 16 hours of news, or Riley's show, The Real Story, Real America with Dan Ball. Chanel, which, by the way, Chanel, congrats on the new baby. She's on maternity leave. Our good friend David Pollock is filling in for a few months, but Chanel will be back, I think, in March. We love you, Chanel. She's on after Matt. Matt's on after me. All that stuff's on the webpage, OANN.com. Follow us on social media.
Yes, we're on YouTube, Rumble, X, Truth Social, Facebook, anywhere you can find social media. By the way, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We drop episodes every Thursday and Friday,
right?
4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern. And if you have any recommendations, feedback, guest ideas, questions for guests on the show,
we'll take it.
Absolutely.
I would love to start doing those. If you say, hey, get Joe Blow on and ask him this, we'll try and do it for you. So thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Anchorman Podcast. For Riley Lewis and the whole staff here at the One America News Network, I'm Dan Ball. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Want to see more great videos like this? Click on the link below to subscribe to OAN Live and watch Dan Ball's Real America and The Matt Gaetz Show on Dish Channel 212. Tune in, subscribe, and watch today.